The more I work with brands on their inclusive marketing approach, the more it has become clear to me that doing inclusive marketing well requires an organizational transformation. The bigger the brand or organization, the more transformation becomes essential. That's one of the reasons why I've moved away from offering one-off training sessions for organizations who want to do inclusive marketing. A 1 or 3 hour training session by itself, in most instances, will not create the transformation you are looking for. More in-depth work is needed to ensure your team is equipped to produce effective inclusive marketing consistently, rather than just checking a box with a one-off training and expecting that everyone just knows what to do after that. So after this short break, I'm going to walk you through some of the components that are actually required to create that organal transformation needed to make inclusive marketing just the way you do marketing moving forward. Did you know that most businesses only use 20% of their data? That's like reading a book with most of the pages torn out, or paying for a coffee that's just 1/5 full. Point is, you miss a lot unless you use HubSpot. Their customer platform gives you access to the data you need to grow your business. The insights trapped in emails, call logs, and transcripts, all that unstructured data that makes all the difference. Because when you know more, you grow more. And when you get a full cup of coffee, you can do more too. But I digress. Visit HubSpot.com today. Okay, so let's walk through the 9 core components associated with creating an organizational transformation to embed inclusive marketing as the way you do marketing for your brand. One thing to note, transformation takes time. This isn't something that happens in a month or even a few months, or depending on the size of your organization, maybe not even in 1 year. This can often take 3 to 5 years for bigger organizations to do. Now, I don't want you to get overwhelmed with all of this. The steps I'm going to walk you through help to make a complete transformation, but that doesn't mean that you can't be effective and make an impact with the efforts you do beforehand. One other thing, the steps I'm going to take you through can be applied no matter the size of your organization or brand. So in this episode, I'm going to introduce you to and do just kind of brief high-level overview of each of the elements. And then in subsequent episodes, I'm going to do deeper dives with each of them so we can tackle these one by one. That'll be more useful for you because it's rare that you'll be tackling all of these things at the same time anyway. All right, let's get into the first one. It's the leadership declaration. Basically, it just says that you need your senior leadership to say that inclusive marketing is the future of marketing, and this is going to be how we do marketing here moving forward. Point blank, period. This declaration really helps because once leadership is on board and once they establish this as an expectation, it becomes the way in which the brands operate. Because if you are doing marketing that doesn't take inclusion into mind, you are basically not doing things in the manner that has been stated by leadership as what is important for your brand's future and for your brand's growth. Now, I know if you don't already have a leader who is fully on board with inclusive marketing, you might see this one as a bit of a challenge. We're going to cover that, but know that your efforts to creating and embedding inclusive marketing as just the way you do marketing, you are going to need at some point to have leadership not only giving the thumbs up, but really going out and declaring it, stating it for everyone to know, for every marketer throughout your organization, and even the other leaders in other departments that are going to be connected, that this is the way you are moving forward. This is your path forward. And that's just the way it is. I've got a lot of good resources for you and examples from leaders that I've talked to in depth who are explaining why this is so important. So you're really going to want to tune into this in-depth episode whenever we get to it. All right, the second area is all about business cases. Inclusive marketing is a good thing to do morally, but as we've seen from so many different brands over the years, the moral imperative is not enough to sustain your efforts. Inclusive marketing must be tied to business results. Inclusive marketing is a growth lever. It helps you acquire more customers. It helps you retain more customers. It helps you do a better job of converting more of the people you engage with, so it costs you less to acquire and retain customers over time. All of those things should be reflected and accounted for in the different communities you want to engage and serve. And if by chance you find that your organization's leadership is not fully on board, presenting them with a business case that shows them the money will go a long way towards getting them very excited about getting on this inclusive marketing train that has basically already left the tracks. Third area of focus for you in this organizational transformation is capturing quick wins. This is also super helpful if by chance you don't yet have that leadership mandate, and if you have some detractors within your organization who aren't yet convinced that inclusive marketing is the right path forward. Quick wins could be in the form of pilot programs or small-scale programs where you can get quantifiable, measurable results on a metric that is meaningful to your organization. That could be something like your brand sponsored a pride parade and handed out a coupon that, when redeemed, turned into an extra $100,000 for your brand for a very small initial investment proportionally. It could be increasing conversion rates for a specific community as a result of changes you make on your website or specific types of posts or collaborations you highlight on your social media. Quick wins show people within your organization that inclusive marketing works and it is worth our time and our resources. Quick wins also serve to energize you and people within your team that the work you're doing and the fight that you might find yourself engaging with internally to embed inclusive marketing into the way you operate, that is worth all the effort. Another area that will help with your organizational transformation is a inclusive marketing playbook, also known as "This is how we do things here." Now, an inclusive marketing playbook can really be thought of as an extension of your brand guidelines, but think of it basically as your marketing Bible. It's a document that makes it clear, as I mentioned, this is how we do marketing here. With inclusive marketing, there are a lot of guidelines and various ways that you can do things. There's best practices. As such, whenever you have one that specifically states this is how we do things here, you're not getting a place within your organization where everything is left up to interpretation. It's better to have that playbook in advance that outlines the rules in which your organization plays and how you will win. Something you might have in your playbook could be very specific and tactical, like we include captions on every video we publish, to something that is more broad-based, such as we avoid negative stereotypes of various communities, or even a directive that sweeps throughout every piece of content that you produce, such as we use gender-neutral language. Now, there are a number of things and decisions that you can make with regards to inclusive marketing, and like I mentioned, best practices can be a great starting point. And then, of course, you'll also have to make decisions that are in keeping with your own brand values and ways of operating. The benefits of a playbook are that it also provides a set of guardrails that make it clear how far or how limited you can be. When people on your team know their constraints up front, you're less likely to produce an entire campaign that gets shut down at the last minute because someone higher up isn't comfortable with the direction. You need a playbook. More to come on this in a future episode. And after this short break, I'll come back and walk you through the remaining items on the list. Okay, I've got another podcast recommendation for you. It's Augmenters, hosted by Julie Meyer and Jimmy Edgerton, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. So on this show, Julie and Jimmy dive into mentoring and explore ways to augment and refresh the mentoring environment. They're using 8 core principles that weave relevant spirit guides and diverse guests, and Julie and Jimmy use a lot of humor and practical tips to help mentors and mentees get further, faster together. There's so many great episodes to tune into for this show, but one that you might find especially interesting is their latest episode, number 120, Mentoring Across Gender, Men as Allies and Mentors. Listen to Augmenters wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, the next thing you need to help you with your organizational transformation to be a brand that engages inclusive marketing consistently is data. And when I say data, I'm talking about information and tools that allow you to assess your progress over time. So people who are focused on conversion rate optimization, for instance, can't do it effectively without data and information that shows the impact of changes made on conversion rates. Similarly, you need a way to know how you're performing with specific communities, including those that are underrepresented and underserved, and you need to know how that data changes over time. The more data you have, the more equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about how to improve upon what you're already doing. Data also helps you with improving your business cases. Just saying, we've already talked about how important that is. The next one on the list is related to data, and it's all about establishing a baseline of how you are currently doing. There's this meme that I love that showed this cute little dog sleeping, and it says, "How I think I look when I'm sleeping," and then right beside it was a picture of a dog sleeping very comfortably and in a way that would not be considered very cutesy, very demure, or mindful. And the copy listed above it says, "How I actually look when I'm sleeping." So basically, we often think we're doing better than we are, but until we go out and actually assess how well we are performing, we won't have a clear picture. So Luna is starting school in the next school year. And so right now I'm looking at different schools in the area to see which schools I might consider putting her in. And data was a tool that I used to assess whether or not a school should even be considered as part of the options. Now, each school had data on math scores, English scores, social studies, sciences, etc., and how well students at that school compared to the state average. They even had data on how different demographics of student populations were performing, which I really appreciated. So a school might tell me, yeah, our students excel in math, but if I go and look at the actual data and see that your school is performing lower than the state average, I'm going to be like, nope, I don't think so. Now, you could think that your brand is being representative, but to the end consumer, they might not feel seen by the visual imagery your brand puts forth. So don't guess about how well you're doing. Go out and do an assessment to understand how well you're currently performing so you can establish a baseline. Cultural intelligence is the next thing you need to complete this organizational transformation with inclusive marketing. I did an episode earlier this year, episode number 109, Cultural Intelligence for Marketers, with a guest who wrote the actual book, Cultural Intelligence for Marketers. I'll link it up in the show notes for you to have a listen if you haven't already, so you can access it easily. But basically, cultural intelligence is not optional when it comes to engaging with people from underrepresented and underserved communities. Most of the marketing fiascos we see where brands have to apologize for culturally insensitive campaigns come because the people who created the campaigns lacked cultural intelligence. Your entire team needs to have some degree of cultural intelligence to not only create good work, but to evaluate it as well. I remember talking with a friend and colleague a few years ago, and she told me that her agency lost a sizable client contract because they presented a campaign that the client felt was culturally insensitive. Better to prevent making these costly missteps in advance by ensuring your team has the cultural intelligence needed to produce marketing that makes people feel seen, supported, and like they belong. Another one that you need to help create this transformation are consumer insights by community. Now, this is closely related to cultural intelligence as well. My editor for my Inc. column asked me a while back to write an article about a viral campaign a brand did who was specifically targeting Gen Z. When I looked at the ad and then went and got some basic insights about Gen Z, the ad didn't seem like it was rooted in insights. So while the commercial was good and entertaining and thought-provoking, I don't really know how effective it was because the premise of the campaign was a little off because it was based upon principles that were contrary to the insights about the community it was targeted for. Insights will tell you what's top of mind for a community, what behaviors and actions they are currently engaging in, what they believe, and why. Without insights, you can't create a campaign that will authentically speak to the audience you desire. Systems and tools are also important. Now, not always the most sexy topic, but definitely an area that is critical to helping you get some sexy results by helping you produce consistent results over and over again and efficiently. I'm talking about templates, review processes, access to resources, libraries, and the list goes on and on. Even training and support fall into this category. So what do you have available to ensure your team has what they need to consistently and efficiently Produce inclusive marketing that makes an impact on the people you serve and drives business results. What are the tools and processes you have to get the information needed to create business cases, engage in cultural intelligence and consumer insights, and get the data you need? It's all connected, and having a plan and organized way of providing these resources you need are an important part of making that transformation happen. And the last thing that you need is a feedback mechanism to fuel your transformation. Intentions are great and all, but at the end of the day, your intentions aren't what will drive your business results. It's the impact it has on the people you want to serve and the actions you compel them to take as a result of your efforts. So it's critically important that you create a mechanism to get the feedback from the people you want to serve, not just at the end of the process when you want them to bless what you've already done, but from the very start of the process, during and along the way, so you can make sure you're on the right track. And then again, you want their feedback once it's complete to ensure it hits the mark and is driving the kind of results you desire. Talk to the people you serve and want to serve. Talk to people who have the identities and lived experiences of the people you want to serve. It goes a long way toward ensuring that the work you do is effective and done right the first time. So those are the essential elements, 9 of them, that you need to create an organization that delivers inclusive marketing consistently and ultimately enables you to build that bigger, more diverse, and fiercely loyal customer base. As mentioned, I'll create an individual episode for each of these so we can do a deep dive. Now that's it for today's episode. If you like this show, I would so appreciate it if you would share it with your friends, colleagues, and or your network. It really does go a long way towards helping more people practice inclusion. And I like to think it helps more brands show more people that they do indeed belong. Also, are you getting the Inclusion in Marketing newsletter? If not, really, what are you even doing? Each week, I send news, insights, resources, tips, and other goodies to help you attract and retain a bigger, more diverse, and fiercely loyal customer base. Go to inclusioninmarketing.com/newsletter to get signed up. I'll also leave a link to that in the show notes for you so you can access it easily. Until next time, remember, everyone deserves to have a place where they belong. Let's use our individual and collective power to ensure more people feel like they do. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon.